to FUEL. FUEL stands for Finance, Unity, Empowerment, Legacy. Join Dennis Sawyer, Dr. Jackie Moore, and Lewis McIlwain as they discuss the financial aspect of children. What are we talking about today?
I'm talking about you. Hey, y'all, ain't no technical issues. That's how he really talks. You know what? I actually, I don't know if this is good conversation, but I want to talk about the financial aspects of children.
Okay.
Is that okay? So, of course, I like to start with me.
Of course, you narcissist.
Is that what a narcissist is?
Yes.
Okay, so the financial responsibility of children. Is that what you're saying?
I think I said that.
Okay.
She's so perfect with her wording and everything. It sounded different coming back. It sounded so doctoral. So my PhD is in public high school diploma. So I don't have all the words correct, but
yeah, mine's in communication, and so I'm going to foster this environment. So go for it.
I had the honor of raising a young lady to adulthood, but there's a place where it began. And that's what I say, children, because she's no longer a child, but sometimes she has childlike ways around me. But when I hear her talking on the telephone and taking care of business, she's definitely an adult. But what happened in the beginning for me was I became a single parent early on. And let me just put dates on it. When she was 6, I became a single parent. But if you count back, I was always a single parent. She was with me every day. At night, she would go home. But what happens is you learn, and I think that any man who's allowed to be around his children, because I know sometimes we're not allowed to be around our children for various reasons, but this allowed her mother to work. I mean, we didn't have a contentious relationship, but it was financial. Did I say that right, Dr. Jackie?
Contentious.
Oh, okay, contentious. Thank you, wordsmith. So what happens is immediately you have to change. Immediately, I had to adjust and change from being all for me and me for all, something like that. All the money was for me, to how was I going to take care of a child? Now, I remembered how my mother took care of 3 boys. And, that was my she was a single parent through no fault of mine. And things just happened. But eventually, I had to change my plan, and I had to figure out finances. So these are the things that I did immediately. The minute I gave her a key to my house, she was 6 years old, I gave her a key to my house. I came home and found her sitting on my doorstep. And, as a concerned parent, the first thing you ask is, what are you doing here? Mommy dropped me off. And then she left you? Oh my gosh. Okay, if that ever happens again, here's a key. So by giving my daughter a key, the next thing I did was I started setting up, okay, how am I going to get her through college? How am I going to take care of her food needs, her travel needs, her school needs, and things like that? So immediately I started looking for a new job. Why? My job was perfect for me. I could hang out, I could work, I could get paid, I could live a good life. I had a house, I had all those things that that we look out for. But what about her needs? And that's what I'm talking about, the financial responsibility of children. They aren't expensive, and they are very expensive. That's why you got to plan. So I started planning how to make more money, and what happens if I'm no longer there? That was the second thing on my mind. What happens if I'm no longer there? Will she go to the college that I want her to go to? Will she have food? Will she have the clothing? Will she, what will happen to her? So I put I put a life insurance policy in place immediately, bank accounts, college accounts, and a new job. Because I'm like, okay, this is good enough for one. I know there's a song was good enough for one, but how can you expect to be good enough for two? I think it's Michael. I forgot the guy's name. Well, anyway, some actor. So I mean, not some singer. And I had to correct that because Mac is one heck of a singer, and I didn't want to, make him think I was talking about him. But what goes on is, so here we go. We're talking about financial things, and we got to figure out the why. Why do we look at financial things? And I just threw children in there as one aspect of finances. Of course, there's housing, transportation, food, future, college, all those things. And, Dr. Jackie, I'm sure your parents have done something to get you to where you are.
Well, we talk about finances because that is the effing fuel. But we also do look at the whole idea of planning, and education was huge with my family. And how was that going to happen? We were medium income family, and it took an understanding of money and the saving of that money, and not necessarily saving it to save, but saving it with a focus. So focus save, plan save, directed save. So you have those emergencies that come up, but sometimes that savings area goes in another place. So I'm going to just take this thought one little step over to the saving for self, paying yourself first. This concept we've talked about before, and in a discussion with a couple of people, it came up again, and their idea was, well, yeah, I got to say, because I want this house or whatever. But the concept of paying yourself first is that your focus becomes the bill. And so paying yourself first means, yes, you're going to pay your rent or your mortgage. And yes, you're going to pay the car note. And yes, but then you have to be among that individual that also gets paid first off the top, because otherwise you pay all of these and then you say, oh, instead of having a whole finger, I've got a less of it, and I'm going to just keep that. And you end up shortchanging yourself. So if your focus is your children, you need to be systematic in it, planned in it. It may mean that you have a plan. Some people say, well, I'm going to put it in this spot, have it taken out immediately out of my money, or I'm going to have this account, and every month, every 2 weeks, however, 1 week, if you get paid every week, you pay yourself first. You pay your plan first. You do not say, I'm going to do this with whatever's left, because you end up not doing it. So my family was like that. And I could tell it was focused. And my dad, who was the saver, and my mom, who was the spender. So I got to see both ends, and I have a little bit of both in me. But my dad was always in my ear about the concept of saving that money and being specific about it. So you buy a car, you pay it off, woohoo! Then you think, well, now I've got that $200, $300, $500 extra. And my dad said, you lived those 5 years, 6 years, 3 years, however long, without that 200, 300, 500, right? Save that money for those specific things, for your children, for your future, for your visions and your desires. So that's how it was in my family. Was it the same way with you, Mac, or how was your family?
Well, actually, if you guys don't mind, I want to go in a bit of a different direction. Uh, as you all know, this coming March, I will be remarried again, and it'll be our fourth year. What a lot of people don't know is that with that marriage came three additional children outside of the biological ones from the first marriage. So in all, I have five children that I, deal with these days. Now, the interesting thing is I'm going to exclude one of my extra children out for a moment because she's definitely by marriage. But we have two other children that are of Guatemalan descent that are in by adoption. And what I have discovered, both of those children were raised without a presence of a father. And because of that, neither one has any kind of direction as far as how to deal with money and honestly, how to deal with life. And so here I come in as they are already in adulthood and really having to go back and, similar to what you just shared, Dr. Jackie, explain to them that you need to make sure that you're paying yourself first above anything else that you had to take care of, and also considering prioritizing the things that you think you want or think you need, and really determine what is it that I need right now, and then what is it that I want, and make sure that you're addressing those needs. And the needs in our little simple community are food, clothing, and shelter. Okay. And and then you can go into some of the other things. Let's be straight. Insurance in this kind of a culture is not really practiced. So that's a whole new concept that has to be introduced into their vernacular. So right now I find myself in a true training moment of having to reprogram, if I can put it that way, what their concepts of money are all about, and redirecting them so that they are making sure that they're taking care of their responsibilities. And then, of course, have a little bit for entertainment, but also make sure that they're saving.
I don't have any children that I have birthed naturally, but my niece and nephew are very much my kids. And so I understand that need to reprogram, because since I wasn't the one who was always around, and quite frankly, in my later years, I have become more involved with my finances, because when I first met Mr. Sawyer, he had disclosed an eternal interest in finances, and would ask those critical questions. What are you doing? How are you set up for your family, etc. And I found, though even at that time I was mastered and working on a PhD, I didn't have that information. And so sometimes people looking at us talking are thinking, well, you all know everything and I don't know, and it's going to take so long. But the retraining, reprogramming, reteaching, as long as you're alive and willing, you can learn something else. And so Dennis had become affiliated with a group, and they were offering free classes. Free really rung true to me, having gone through all this schooling and having to pay for it. And I started going thinking, I'm just terrible at math. I'm never going to get this. I won't understand it. And it wasn't anything about math. It was about concepts. It was about attitude. It was about an understanding of how money works and how it can work in your life. So it was about application. And just last night, I was with my niece, who has married and has 2 children from her husband in the household. And I said, I am going to start classes with you and your family all together, maybe 15 minutes, but you all need to understand as the parents, and they need to understand because one day they will be working with their own money and they need to get these concepts now. So you're right, Mac. It's not the age, you've adopted new children, but you've also adopted the understanding of teaching your children. That financial responsibility of your children also goes to teach them what they need to do in their own lives.
Well, I was thinking about this, and I said, you know what? Let's go to how do we start? Where do we start? That kind of a thing. And basically, I was thinking about the dangers, and I'm using that word not to be too off the left, but the dangers of mental bookkeeping. The dangers of mental bookkeeping. So what I do right now, if you ask me what my bills are, I can tell you to the penny of what all my bills are, how much I spend in a month, what I need to bring in to make it and all that kind of stuff. And it's wonderful. I can recite how much I spent yesterday, the week before. The problem is when somebody has to take over your bookkeeping. Mac and I have a long relationship. We've been friends for a long time, and we come in and out of each other's lives for different reasons. And one time we crossed paths was because he asked me to help him situate a life thing, a life challenge. And I sat down, and his mother, and I got the honor of meeting her also, allowed me to look at her bookkeeping. Oh my gosh. She wrote down every penny, every dime that came in the house, went out the house, and what little Mac wasted on ice cream. It was amazing, and I've been in finance for 10, 15, 20 years, and I still keep things in my head. Well, I used to. But the point is, up until that point, anytime you ask me something, you can get the information. But after I saw that, I'm like, okay, I better start writing things down. Because when I am not here, yes, my daughter's going to take advantage of my life insurance policy. She's never going to have to work again in her life. But what about the other financial things I have? She needs to know passwords. She needs to know how much is there. She needs to know the tax implications. She needs to know what beneficiary means. She needs to know where the ice cream money is. She needs to know these things. And I have started keeping a journal, which I tried to do in college. But college was, you start writing and somebody knock on your door and say, there's a party in the yard. I went to Howard. There's a party in the yard. That's it. We're going to the party. And you come back, you forget all about the journal till 9 months later. You're like, oh man, I spent money. But Mac, the reason why I brought that up, because I wanted to let you know how much that affected me. Like I said, I know we go in and out of each other's lives, and that's what brings us to this point here, is not only the financial cost of children, but how do you pass information on?
We've decided, due to the length of our discussion today, to cut it into parts. So be on the watch for the second part of this, which will probably be in the next week. On behalf of Dennis and Dr. Jackie, and I'm Mac, have a great evening.